Dear students, today we are going to study chapter 2 of English of class 7th. Chapter 2, Exploring Puzzles. Exploring means what? To learn about something, and we are going to learn about puzzles. Puzzles is a game or a toy or a problem designed to test our knowledge. Yes, today in this we are going to study about exploring puzzle through different stories and puzzles. Here one of the story is been given about Emperor Akbar and Birbal. I'll read the story and explain you accordingly. Emperor Akbar was a great and a wise ruler, and he had a fine advisor in his court. Yes, all know that Emperor Akbar was a great and a wise ruler, and he has many fine advisors in his court, but the wisest of them was the Birbal. Whenever the emperor thought of a difficult problem or a puzzle, he turned to Birbal. Yeah, whenever he thought or he faced any problem or a puzzle, he used to ask Birbal. One pleasant evening in the month of March, one pleasant evening, Akbar was strolling in his courtyard. Yes, Akbar was strolling means he was walking leisurely in his courtyard. He has just completed a successful military camp in the east and he wanted a little amusement. Yeah, after being successful in his military camp, he wanted to a little have little fun. So suddenly he turned to his courtyard and said, he turned towards his courtyard and told them, "Tell me, what should be the punishment for someone who dared to tweak your emperor's mustache?" Yeah, who dared to tweak means who dared to twist or pull your emperor's mustache. The courtiers were shocked at that thought. They were shocked. Who might be doing all this thing? Only the most fool criminal would dare to touch the king. They thought like this way. Then Shahbaz Khan, he spoke out, "My lord, this villain should be mercilessly flogged to death." He said, "This villain who has touched your mustache should be mercilessly," means in the way that has no mercy. Flogged to death. Flog means beat someone with a stick as a punishment, and you should be till then he is dead. The other one, Maulada Peza, said, "Beheaded in full public view, Your Honor." Then beheaded means cut off his head. In the full public, cut his head. The villains should be thrown down from the fort or to be hanged. The other Shadi Shah said, yes, the villain should be thrown down from the fort or he should be hanged. And you, what about you, Birbal? What punishment do you suggest for his offender? Offenders means a person who commit illegal act. Yeah, Emperor asked to Birbal then. Shah Alam, he said very calmly, I would give him some sweet. I would like to give him some sweets. The other courtiers gaped at Birbal. They were looking at Birbal. Had he gone mad? Sweets for such a crime? Surely this time Birbal was wrong. Thought that Birbal is wrong this time. Akbar frowned. Frown means disapprove for something. Did you I hear you right? Have I heard properly or what, Birbal? He said, you consider giving sweets to be the right punishment for such a crime? Only in this case, Your Majesty, he said, only in this case only I am talking about, said Birbal humbly, because who else but your beloved grandson would dare to take such a liberty with the King of Kings? Yes, he said, only your grandson who is beloved to you, he can only touch to you. So he can only have such liberty to touch your mustache. Akbar burst out laughing. He started laughing a lot. You are right again, Birbal. He said, yes, you are right. It was indeed that little rascal who tweeted my mustache this very evening. Yes, he turned out my mustaches in this evening. See, this story of Birbal and Akbar, in this, Birbal was able to solve the emperor's puzzle because he thought clearly the realistic about the emperor's question. He did not make any assumption. Yeah, he didn't assume anything. An assumption is something that is believed to be true without any evidence. Sometimes making an assumption is correct. Yeah, sometimes we make an assumption this might happen, but It can't be correct all the time. For example, if your relative falls asleep very early in the evening, you might assume that he is tired, and you might be right also for that, but assumption can be wrong, and they can lead us to think incorrect also about that problem. Now, moving ahead, we are going to see the Canterbury's puzzles and the other curious problems which are been there by Henry Ernest Dudane. This is the picture of Henry Ernest. Henry Ernest Dudane, he was born on 10th of April 1857, and he was an English author and a mathematician. He was also specialized in logic puzzles. Now today we are going to discuss about Henry Ernest Dudane's The Pardoner's Puzzles. See, there was a long ago, there was an inn where pilgrimage was often stopped on their way to worship at a famous shrine. Shrines mean temple, famous temple. During the long evening, as they rested, they were resting from their journey, they would tell stories, and sometimes they assume each other with games. They were assuming, okay, in this game this might happen, this thing can be, and puzzles also. On one evening, the company all turned to pardoner puzzles. The pardoner puzzles. The gentle pardoner. Talking about a gentle pardoner who had just arrived. He was very tired all the way from the Rome, begged to be excused. But the company would not spare him. The company was not sparing him. Friends and fellow pilgrimage, said he said to friends and all my fellow pilgrimage, truly the puzzles I have made is a poor thing, but it's the best that I have been able to create. Yes, it's the best what I have created it. Blame my lack of knowledge of such matter if you don't like it. But his invention was very well received, and he invented very well. He produced the accompanying plan. He made a plan and said that it is symbolized 64 towns. In this, it was 64 towns through which he had to pass, and through which he has to pass through this town during some of his pilgrimage. See, this is a story through which you have to solve the puzzle. During some of his pilgrimage, he said that the lines connecting the town, the line which were connecting the town, represent the roads. He explained that to solve the puzzle, one has to start from the large black town. Here you can see this, you can see in the picture, large black town, and visit all the other town once and once only. Once only you can visit, not in other. In 15 straight pilgrimage, in the 15 straight way you have to move. He said that the puzzle was to trace the road in 15 straight line with your pencil. You can use your pencil and make a 15 route in 15 straight lines. He said you may end where you like. If you wish wherever you want to end, you can end it. But you have to note it that a little road that at the bottom, which is at the bottom, has to be omitted intentionally. You have to omit one intentionally. And it is impossible to go that way. You cannot go by that way. See, this is a beautiful story that we read now, and you try to solve this pardoner's puzzle. You'll have fun with this. Now moving ahead, there is another story of Akbar and Birbal. In this, one day walking in the garden with Birbal and the other courtiers, when the Birbal was walking in the garden with the other courtiers, Emperor Akbar bent to pick up a sharp stone. See, Akbar bent to pick up this sharp stone. With it, he drew a line on the ground and said, and with that chalk, he drew a line. And he said, Birbal, make the line shorter. Now, Birbal, you make this line shorter. He paused, and with a glint of mischief in his eyes, he wanted to have some mischief. He said, but don't touch it. You should not touch it while making it shorter. Just make it shorter. I need it shorter one bus. The courtiers looked at each other. They were looking at each other. What is this? How to solve this puzzle? How to make this big line shorter? Birbal surely couldn't do this. Could he? Perhaps he would finally be outwitted, overthinking this thing. But Birbal calmly bent down. Then he bent down to pick up another stone. Then he took the another stone. He quietly drew a second line below Akbar's line. Then he drew another line. Everyone looked at the two lines. All were looking at this two line. Akbar's line was clearly shorter than Birbal. Yes, when they were seeing the lines too which were drawn, the Akbar's line was means larger than the Birbal was shorter. This was a very brief silent story, and the Akbar smiled and thought, I am outspent of this time, but you have done it again. You proved that you can solve it, this puzzles. See, in this, Birbal did not make any line shorter. Yeah, that it was when the Akbar first drew it, but he made Akbar's line shorter than his line. Akbar's line cannot be said to be a short, it can only be a longer or shorter than the another line. Short is not an absolute concept, it is a relative concept to it. Akbar's line is shorter relative to Birbal's line. As we think about the puzzles and the problem, we want to be sure that our assumptions are correct. We also want to remember that many things cannot be described in absolute terms. Yes, they can only be described in relative terms. Thank you.